What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Another little quick cell phone video. We're gonna look at Terry Edwards 69 Camaro behind me. It's got a JA competition engine in it, fresh twin turbo kit that we just completed. Got the exhaust ran back about to the rear end, but a lot of the car is still in mock-up, so we kind of had to stop there because a lot of the stuff isn't in place to continue further, and I'll show you that. But I'll show you how everything's laid out under the hood and see what you think. So before we open the hood, you can see the intercooler in the front. Even though these old cars have a lot of room in the front, it's always still a challenge to get the intercooler in there because he did not send the headlights. So I had to get online and look at how they bolt up and stuff. And they basically come all the way to right here. So none of this real estate here can be used for cold side, whereas you've got your headlights in there and the bracket on both sides. So what I did, I made some cardboard templates on both sides to kind of simulate where the headlights were going to be and their brackets, so I knew I couldn't deal with anything there. But it worked out pretty good. This car has AC, the vintage air stuff. We got a radiator fitted in it, just a universal one kind of. Another thing, this little brace. Without that brace, the hood latch is super floppy. So we actually trimmed out the brace itself so the intercooler could go inside of it. So it worked out pretty good. See some little trick brackets on the side here. Really simple. Let's open the hood and see what's under here. So there it is. See, it lays out pretty nice. I think these are 64mm VS turbos. They were provided to me, so I didn't source them out. He already had them. He wanted to have no holes in the hood, everything fit under the factory hood. So we went ahead and got a factory style radiator with the brackets on there. It just dropped right in. I spaced it back just a hair so I could get the vintage air condenser on there and still have a pretty good air gap between the intercooler. Mirror image turbos make it really nice. They're laying everything out even on both sides. Like I said earlier, we're running full exhaust, so dump the wastegates back into the exhaust. Pretty much the same thing that we did on Jimmy Grooms's Impala that unfortunately got flooded in the Hurricane Helene stuff, but kind of fortunate it was on the top rack of his lift. And I think a lot of it is salvageable, and he's got somebody else kind of cleaning it up now and trying to get it back squared away. So it didn't get completely ruined, but it was really, really close. But similar layout. See the intercooler, how close it is to the hood latch mechanism there. Like I said, I wanted to keep all this stuff kind of operating as factory. Plenty of clearance, the exhaust going out through there. The cold side here, this little funny transition here, kind of had to get creative because it's a 105 throttle body, which makes it like a 108 OD, or a little bit bigger than that. So we had to get an 1.25 inch elbow that steps down to a 4-inch, and then I put a little bead rolled tube there and a little billet reducer, stepped it back down to 3, and run it on down for clearance. It would have looked a little bit better had I had a longer transition here, but the alternator is really close right there, and I didn't want to make it any closer than what it had to be. So that's not going to hurt anything. Turbo Smart wastegates, they're 40s. They got some little flex bellows here just to help with vibration and stuff. But pretty happy with the way it's packaged. Let's raise the car up and I'll show you the cold side. So I'll reiterate that everything right now is in mock-up mode. None of the clamps are tight, everything is just kind of placed where it's gonna go, because all this stuff's gonna come apart when he gets it back. I kind of had to get creative with the cold side, because twin turbo, even though it's cool, you have to kind of navigate how you're gonna get into one side of the intercooler if you've got really tight packaging. You can see right here on this middle piece how I trimmed that out for the intercooler to go inside of it and it still get around and brace the hood latch. As far as the inlets for the intercooler, you have one coming in here from the other turbo and then the other one going in here. So pretty simple on the cold side there, straight out of the turbo into the intercooler, but had to get creative with this one. It goes up there with the other one, jumps the frame rail, it goes into that turbo. I had to put a rubber coupler up there because you can't get it out, or you can't get it in rather. The 2.5 inlets on both, single 3-inch outlet, but everything is pretty tight. Had to come out of this tank at an angle to clear the core support. And then you have to consider, are you going to be able to see all this stuff from the front? So getting it tucked up there as tight as I could was the goal. The exhaust, try to always put a flex bellow on there because you're going to have vibration like crazy. But pretty simple on that. The cross member here is already notched out. So this is 3-inch all the way back. And then we kind of stopped here where it steps up into the back section, because this car has no shocks on it. It doesn't have the correct wheels on it that are going to be like 325 width on the tire. And it's getting a different rear end. So that's about as far as I could go without having to do something over again. Exhaust hangers, pretty trick setup right there. I always like using those hangers with the little grommets. They look good. Well, that's it. Till next time.